That I guess my only fear is that I'll have a real Swiss cheese board of people I get into contact with and people I don't. But I don't think that will be the case. I think most people are, because the music side hasn't been told, hasn't been researched and told in the same way that the other Sierra stuff has. Most people are fairly still excited and fresh and open to talking about that stuff.
But also, it's a very interesting journey because a lot of the Sierra books that have come out have focused on the company, and also the people who work. Sean's book is full of anecdotes from the people who worked on it. Mostly the designers, the artists, the musicians also get a touch in. But the journey of not just the company but the evolution of audio hardware, particularly in those heydays from 1985 to 1995, is really fantastic and fascinating.
And it probably bears mentioning that the evolution of PC audio largely mirrored the evolution of Sierra's audio. The two are very much the same journey, really.
Yes.
You have the PC speaker / AbLib to the MT32 to the sound canvas / general MIDI standard to Redbook audio and digital audio, and that's both Sierra's journey and the game industry's journey. And a lot of that was because Sierra, as you touched on before, was pioneering and groundbreaking with decisions they made and risks they took, and later because they had a lot of composers who worked on standards. Quest for Glory 3's Rudy Helm and Quest for Glory 5's Chance Thomas both were on the standards board for both game music and MIDI spec, and were also jointly involved in an effort to get game music. I have to get my facts right here. Something like getting game music recognized at the Grammys or something like that in the 90s.
Right. Yeah.
Just to get it basically recognized as real music.
Yeah.
Not just game music, which people thought of for a very long time as weird little beeps and boops.
Yeah, exactly. Like the same uphill battle that Wendy Carlos faced in the 70s, just with computers instead.
Yeah, pretty much, because having talked to Rudy on the phone many years back, some of the stuff that they got in response was just crazy.
Yeah.
Like you have Quest for Glory 5, which was pioneering in 1998 and still gets played at symphonic concerts now. The overture from it. Still, like if you go to some of those video game concerts, they play the Quest for Glory 5 overture. That's like one of the tracks. Yeah, back in 98, 99, when they were taking their case to the people that mattered, they were getting completely ignored and laughed at and told that it was a joke. And like it seems so obvious now in the world of symphonic digital audio that we all live in, and occasional deliberate chiptune music. But back 20 years ago, they weren't taken seriously.
And it's really and this is also interesting from a vinyl collector standpoint, because I don't have many video game music vinyls. And I didn't even know that they were such a massive thing until last year, really. And then I meet this dude who has this giant fucking collection of it. I was like, wow, that's an awful lot of vinyl for video games. So
was that the thing that inspired your?
I think it was partially the
trip.
Yeah,
I know. Obviously, there was a big love of the Space Quest series and the music, and then that obviously
there's
was
that
there
and the love of vinyl, and then it was going to Seattle last year and getting the soundtrack for Grim Fandango on a double vinyl, because they re-released Grim Fandango, they remastered it, and Peter McConnell went in and re-recorded the whole soundtrack, kind of like what Rob Holmes did with Gabriel Knight. And they put that out on vinyl, and I came home with it on vinyl and went, why isn't the music of Space Quest on vinyl? So
Space Quest is such a natural fit too. I will get on you because I think Space Quest 1 VGA is probably one of the most natural fits for.
I should do that, shouldn't I? I mean, I'm torn because Ken Allen did a fantastic job on the soundtrack. It is a really, really good soundtrack. And on the other hand, I don't like Space Quest 1 VGA.
Yeah, I will say that I love Space Quest 1 VGA. I don't think it's the greatest soundtrack of all time. If I'm being frank, I don't think it's a bad soundtrack by any stretch. It's actually one of the first. When I got the MT32 for the first time in 2003, I think it was one of the first soundtracks I played on, first games I played with the device. So I have very fond memories of it. But I think with the synth vibe of it, I think it absolutely would lend well to your excellent treatment.
Thank you. It does,
especially because of the synth basses, like tracks like the Skimmer, for example, leap into my mind.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites as well.
Trolls written right all over it.
It does,
and I guess the orchestral stuff is very similar to Space Quest 4 because Ken Allen.
Yeah, I think the reason why I don't like the VGA remake so much is talking to Scott Murphy. Talking to Scott Murphy about Space Quest 1 VGA, and you can just see the dagger in his heart still twisting.
Yeah.
He feels so betrayed by this thing. It's just...
Yeah, you're right. I've seen no shortage of interviews where he's made his disgust clear. Although I did see in the last few years, Douglas Herring, the art designer and director for Space Quest 1 remake, said that he'd spoken to Scott and maybe Mark as well in recent years, and kind of they'd come to peace with it. And Scott had said, maybe I overreacted for some of my criticisms about the art style. They kind of met in the middle, so that was nice to see. Because I think regardless of whether you love or hate it, I think there was a lot of good work put in, and Doug had to work with a lot of, I think, foreign artists. I think a lot of the art was done in Korea.
It was outsourced. I'm not mistaken. It indeed
so that would have been hard to do, especially back in 1991 when Zoom wasn't a thing.
Also, I should probably clarify, just in case anyone's wondering, that I don't mean to cast shade on any of the people who actually did work on Space Quest 1 VGA. I don't think they did it of any malicious intent or anything. They were told to. But it's just the whole story about them pulling Mark and Scott into the office and going, by the way, we've remade Space Quest 1. Have a play. What would you like us to change about it? And they come back the next day and say, we don't like this and this and this, and they're told to fuck off.
Well, they were told after they were asked the decision was already made. So
yeah, it's just too late to change anything. We're sorry.
Awesome. And of course, this was right after the other fun conversation they had in the office, which was that parser was gone and that point and click was now the way things were going. Well, yeah, I mean, even just talking to Dynamix people in the last month, I've learned some things that absolutely sum up with that, which was Dynamix went from being shoestring budgets and almost farcical production methods to suddenly millions of dollars that Ken was willing to pony up for pretty much anything going in the very early years. And of course, when you have a budget, you can use it. You can always spend more. But then they looked back suddenly, and it was like, we spent $2 million on this, and it's like, and then the flip side comes very quickly into play, which is, how do we make that money back?
Yeah,
and that's a much harder question. So,
and Sierra were also a bit like reticent to promote Dynamix adventure games because they weren't done in Sierra's engines. They were a bit like
it's interesting because in some ways they were heavily promoted, and in other ways they weren't. Like, to go back and look at the old magazines and see how Dynamix was talked about is very interesting. Looking back through the time tunnel of 30 years ago, it's like the sort of like jack of all trades, master of none. The way that Sierra portrays him, and like they're talked about in the Jeff Tunnel. The lead guy at Dynamix was a genius. Like, that angle is hit a million times. There's the unique angle is played a lot. Like, Dynamix is similar yet different than us. But a lot of what Dynamix did once Sierra acquired them was the same thing, VGA, Roland MT32, and then other things are just generically the same, games have plots, games have art, it's like, so there was a lot of overlap there, but, obviously the decision to market them was made that they were all completely different.
Part of the Sierra family. distinct,
and then eventually
not really.
they just got absorbed. And even though Dynamix was its own thing, suddenly The Incredible Machine was a Sierra game and not a Dynamix game. Between the years of 1993 and 1994, that switch was made. So
also, Space Quest 5 does not have the Dynamix logo on it.
I don't understand. I mean, for me, Bruce Balfour wrote Laura Bow 2, which to me was an extremely well written and cleverly crafted game. Even though, like every Sierra game, there are some limitations with the way it was designed and so forth. But the fact that he didn't have a lot of writing credits after that, it boggles the mind. I don't understand that at all.
He went on to, for some reason, they I don't know if he came up with the idea himself or if he suddenly decided to do space outpost simulators. But that's what he's known for.
Ill-fated outpost scenario. Yeah, that's another story.
Well, that's I think we should call it there. So that's very exciting news for me that you are sort of taking up the mantle for soundtracks that I will hopefully stop getting requests for now.
I will finish by saying that I'm very excited to hear what you do with Space Quest 6, but also Space Quest 1 and 2, the original games. I'm very, very excited because those two games, from the AGI games, the music that inspired me and that I enjoyed the most was from those two, because I just love that original Space Quest theme. And
it's so and a lot of the 2GS stuff was actually done by Al Lowe, sort of on the sly, and then Mark Crow did the there's a separate intro and outro. There's a separate overture and outro for Space Quest 2 on the 2GS. Amazing stuff. I'll show you. But for now, for everyone who's made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Alistair for indulging me at the very, very late hour it is.
Thanks to Trolls for indulging me telling random anecdotes about things.
Go on Facebook, follow his Sierra Music and Memories group, and get more info on his mailing list about the upcoming releases.
Likewise. Follow Trolls on any platform that you can follow him on, and buy his vinyls when they come in February. And just on that note, because I never actually said it, we should be crowdfunding for the Sierra book either in first quarter or second quarter of next year. Hopefully sometime around, similar to your time frame, hopefully somewhere around February, March or so.
Cool. Well, I will definitely be backing that one. So I'm excited to read about nerdy stuff as well. Yeah. All right.
Well, hopefully there's 100 or so of us that can get this thing funded.
I hope so too.
Thanks again, sir. I appreciate, and it's wonderful to get to talk to you again.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So take care. Have a good night's sleep. What's left of it, and I'll see you around the Chrono stream.
Yeah, see you on the Chrono stream time, Jackie.